All right, well, it is my privilege today to introduce our new district attorney for Payne and Logan Counties. He's been in the job for just a hair over 145 hours, and he's been pretty quiet in terms of activity out of his office. No, actually, he's been very busy in making his positions known on a number of things. Jeremiah, we welcome you. Welcome as a member of our club. Welcome today.
I lost track of the time. You ever hear me? We good? It's Kevin. He's controlling it back there. So, Matt, my twin, our suits. I'm sorry that you don't get trivia again today. So I take full responsibility for that. I am condensing down a 2.5-hour long presentation into an hour and a half long presentation. So anybody that is caught leaving will be arrested by that man right there. Okay. Just a quick background. I think pretty much everybody in here probably knows me. I mean, I'm a member, for full disclosure, member of Stillwater Rotary, but just real quick, I'll kind of give you a quick background about me. I am the new district attorney, unfortunately. And history is that I'm sixth generation Oklahoman, grew up in Oklahoma, farm kid, grew up showing livestock, married to my beautiful wife sitting over there, Alicia. Everybody knows I'm absolutely in love with her. I've gotten over the fact that she beat me many times in high school in various extracurricular events, and I married her nonetheless. We've got 2 kids together, 2 sweet little girls that I'm very proud of. So graduated high school from Oklahoma and eventually joined the United States military right after September the 11th, deployed 3 times in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. I went to Oklahoma State University, 2 degrees, go Pokes, and I went to law school at another place. I won't tell you where it's at. I've done a lot of different things in my career, but probably the most near and dear to me is the position that I serve in now, and that is that of Chief Law Enforcement Officer of our jurisdiction. I take that job extremely seriously. I'm going to try to get through. There's a lot of things I know the public wants me to address, and I'm trying my best to get through all of them. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to get through all of them, but I'm going to try. So, mission and strategic goals that I have as a district attorney: promote transparency, ensure accountability, restore trust, and remain consumed by the cries of the victims of crime. What does all of that mean? We'll start at the top. Transparency. What does transparency mean? You and the entire world knows what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. One of the things that has eroded the trust of our justice system is people don't know what's going on. And when you don't have adequate communications, it breeds mistrust. And that is the first and foremost thing that you can do. It's kind of added to the life. Accountability. It means I am held to the exact same standards as you, just like any other citizen. That's what every elected official, every law enforcement, every Am I good, Kevin? Okay. Every wealthy person, so it doesn't matter their socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter where they come from or who they are subject to the exact same laws and penalties that anybody else is. Nobody should get privileged. If I do something wrong, I am subject to prosecution by those who control statewide, which would be the Attorney General's office. That is a portion of accountability. Restoring trust. When you have transparency and accountability, that is the first steps, foundations of building trust. And I don't know if you've noticed, we don't have much of that. And I get it. That's why I ran. Remain consumed by the cries of the victims of crime. What does that mean? It means that everything behind violent crime is a victim, sometimes multiple victims. Who is the person that stands up for those victims? If you think about it, who's out there screaming on their behalf? That's my job. That's why we have district attorneys, is to not just enforce the laws, not just to hold people accountable, but to be a voice for victims. And that's what it means to be consumed by the cries of the victims of crime. Now, communication. Let's talk about communication.
These are the steps that I've outlined for communicating with the public. What do I mean by opening the roof? Again, it's like I said, light disinfects. It builds trust because everybody can see what's going on. I'm going to go into that more in a minute. Press releases. I've done one or two of them since I took office Friday. I will be holding press conferences. Now, it depends on how big a deal it is as to whether or not I will. But when the time merits it, I will be holding press conferences. We'll be doing that on the third floor of the county administration building. And I have hired a public information officer to get that word out to the media so that they can appear. Social media, you've probably seen, I opened up a Facebook on Saturday and I did not quite expect it to go the way it did as far as the number of people who started following, but it did. We're also in the process of developing a new website that includes an online open records request. Part of transparency is you guys have the right to know what I'm spending taxpayer money on, every dime of it. You guys have the right to know my staff, what they're getting paid. You have the right to know what I'm getting paid. You have the right to know what's going on in that office when it comes to your money. Cameras in the courtroom. Now, there are a few attorneys who don't like this, and I get why. It's not because they have something to hide. It's because I had one attorney told me the other day that they have a face made for the radio. And so that is why they don't like it. Other people don't like it for other reasons. I love it. Not because I want to be in the spotlight, but because I want people to be able to go online anytime and see what's going on in court. You know, it's funny. I've had people come up to me and tell me, I don't know, it's a really good idea. There are dozens of states in the United States that have cameras in the courtroom. Static cameras in the courtroom where you can log in and watch the proceedings. You guys remember the O.J. Simpson trial? You guys remember how you're able to watch that? Why can't you watch what's going on in court? Now, we would shut it off, still record it, but not make it accessible for like juveniles. Because juveniles, we have to protect young babies, young children. But it would still be recorded and preserved, just couldn't be released without a court order. So we would still have that level of transparency available to us. Speaking engagements, that's what I'm here. That's why I'm here right now. Legislators, this is extra important. And I'm going to talk about this here in a minute. What I've come up with is another idea for us to be as transparent as we possibly can. And I want to tell you here in a minute, I am really ecstatic about all of our legislators because they have offered to help in this cause. We'll get to that in just a second. And lines of communication, talking to reporters. I've taken some interesting lines of questions from people. But you've got to have the guts to answer to take that on. You've got to have the guts to be able to talk to people and be like, you know, that's a difficult question. I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. Some elected officials try to avoid that. I'm not going to. Now, this is one of the problems that I have. Ever since Abraham Lincoln said this statement, everybody believes everything they see on Facebook. Okay? Objectivity's gone out the door. We don't have Walter Cronkite anymore telling us what the news is. We get it from social media, and it's amazing the stuff that people will post on social media. Things get twisted, disinformation, misinformation. This isn't like a political thing, like one end of the spectrum. It's all across the spectrum. It's happening all the time. Now, one of the things that I will say is that in the process of being on Facebook and being in the public eye, I'm getting literally thousands of text messages and emails and phone calls and voicemails and comments and questions on Facebook. I cannot get to all of them. I sincerely apologize. I would like to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do those press releases and come to these events and in the process try to attempt to answer all of those questions that are coming to me. Now, why almost nobody wants this job? All right. I did have an opponent or two that had declared that they were going to run against me. So I ran a campaign, and then come April the 3rd, filing deadline at 5 o'clock, it was all in vain. I won by default. And when I got into the job last Friday, I figured out why. Okay? In addition to that, low pay, small retirement, probably the worst part of it is the heinous crimes that you have to deal with when you are a prosecutor. I was a prosecutor prior to this. I've been in private practice for a number of years now, but prior to this, there's still cases that stick in my memory. There's cases that will forever be burned in my memory. There's one in particular that was here in Payne County in which a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old were tortured by the mother and stepfather. They were burned with cigarette lighters. They were not fed anything but dog feces. They were stuffed in a crate. They were thrown out the window of the second floor with broken bones that were never treated and healed on their own. It's the most heinous case I can recall in my time. It was worse than the murders that we dealt with. And as a young father, that was difficult to deal with. Had to watch videos of disgusting child pornography. I've had to watch a young girl raped by her perpetrator on video because he filmed it because he thought that was pretty exciting for himself. That will stick in your memory for the rest of your life. Ask me why prosecutors don't want to stay in this job. It takes a special person to do this. I'm not special. There's some people who are. Little interesting fact, some of the best child crimes prosecutors are mamas because they can compartmentalize it in their head because they're on the warpath and they're going to bring justice. Those are some of the greatest prosecutors, are mamas. I will tell you that public scrutiny is tough. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. But it's what pushes us out. It's what pushes people out of prosecution. The worst of it's threats. In any county you can go and you receive death threats as a prosecutor from the people you prosecuted, their families or whatever. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes indirect. Sometimes I hope you get raped, hope your family gets raped, hope your family gets slaughtered, hope your family gets their throat slit. And hey, it may happen. Another reason people don't want to be in this job. Another reason, no one's breaking my door down. I've been sitting by the door outside my office waiting for somebody to come and try to apply to work in my office, and I haven't had anybody come yet. Go figure. But I get it. It's nationwide, it's statewide. Mine's even a little bit worse because I've got a cloud over the courthouse, a cloud that I've got to clear. And that's my goal. I do not want to address this issue, but I have to. I need to first address one thing so everybody's aware, because I've learned we don't teach the Constitution in our schools anymore. Okay? The Fifth Amendment is not just the right to remain silent, it's also the double jeopardy clause. No person shall be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. The state of Oklahoma cannot prosecute twice or sentence twice or punish twice someone for the same crime in which they have already been punished for, convicted and punished for. So in this case, I have no further option. There is one, and it's just a small chance. I have no control over the federal government, but there's no double jeopardy because they're a separate sovereign. They're a separate government. It's a system of federalism. We have state government, we have federal government. The federal government can potentially prosecute. The likelihood, pretty small. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not blaming the federal government. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of it, we had the McGirt system come into play, so they're doing a lot of the Indian tribal prosecutions, and that backlogs them. That's one of the factors that comes into play. There's a lot of factors come into play, but the only thing that I can do left is to submit that case to the feds just to look at and ask them to look at it. And after that, there's nothing I can't make. Can I make the feds do anything? No, I can't. But I have to try. And I have been ridiculed by people, attorneys, saying, well, there's no jurisdiction over this. You know that. Well, they're correct because most of the charges do not translate into a federal charge. They just don't because it didn't occur on federal land. It didn't occur on a reservation, a federal installation like a base. It didn't occur there. So therefore, there's really only one thing that would apply, and I'm not going to sit here and go into detail. Our victims have gone through enough. And I don't want to look like I'm capitalizing politically because I'm not, because these victims who I met with, a sweet family, a truly sweet family, have been through a lot. But I just should know that there is jurisdiction on one issue, and it has to do with unconsented images. Okay? That the federal government does have jurisdiction. One additional thing I need to address, it happened on Monday. Some people ridiculed me for that, and I'm all about the ridicule because I don't look at it. I don't really care. But people send me screenshots of stuff because I'm not really looking at social media, and friends will be like, did you see what somebody said? I'm like, okay, well, great. But what somebody had said, I actually chuckled at this a little bit because one person said that I was unprofessional whenever, and on Monday I went off at defense counsel in court. And they said, one said I was unprofessional, one said I was unhinged, one said that I threw a temper tantrum. One said I was a loose cannon, and one said I had anger management problems. Okay. I make no apologies. Here's why. We were supposed to go in there. I just assumed office Friday. We went in there Monday, and I got to meet the victims for the first time prior to. Heart-wrenching meeting. We were supposed to go in there. Should have been a 5-minute long hearing. That's all it should have been, because it was the final review for his probation. Go in there, finish it, and leave. Instead, the defense gets up and says things that put the victims into tears. Things that you can go look at the transcript that somehow the perpetrator had given the victims grace. And I lost it. And I probably was unprofessional about that. Do I make any apologies? No. None. Because what about the victims? What about what they feel? Does that matter? Apparently not. That should not have happened. They should not have had to have gone in there and listened to all that garbage, that insincere, bloviating garbage. Again, it is my job to speak up for the victims. And if that makes people mad, I don't care. Let's move on to another weighty instance. I can't get this to move. Kevin, I'm waiting to be rescued. What? Okay, well, let's talk then. Just ignore the slide, and I will just talk off the cuff here. Let's talk a little bit about the grand jury issue. So, grand juries are guided by the Oklahoma Constitution, Article 2, Section 18, Title 38. It governs the process. And there's 3 entities that there's nothing you can do. Okay, all right. So there's 3, what? There's 3.
I'm just gonna try. Nope, everything looks plugged in good.
I'm losing time here. People are going to be here till like 2 o'clock now.
I did the best of my. No, I think that's more.
That's not what it is. All right. There's three powers in which to convene a grand jury in the state of Oklahoma. One is by citizen's petition. One is by district judge. The district judge can call it, and the attorney general himself can call it. Those are the 3 ways in which you can do it. And I know the cause of the grand jury, and I know why it's been brought forth. And here's the thing. I support an independent review. I can't do this by myself. If I'm going to have transparency and have people trust the system again, if people can come in and take a look at it and report the findings, people can start the process of trusting the system again. I've got nothing to hide. But I have a suggestion that I think will help to make this more airtight. I would like to see, and I've talked about this with a candidate for Attorney General. I won't say who because I'm going to vote for this person because they said they're going to do this, but I don't want to, as the D, I don't want to be endorsing people. That's not my job. My job is to protect the public, not to endorse people. But there's an Attorney General candidate that promised me to do this. And I said, here's what I need from you. I need you to call after you win after you win election to office as a brand new AG, I need you to call the Attorney Generals around you, either Arkansas, Texas, Kansas, New Mexico, Colorado, and say, hey, I need a couple prosecutors, a handful of investigators. We're going to house you here in Stillwater. You ain't got nothing to do with Payne County or Oklahoma. And I want you to come in. DA is going to open up the doors. Courthouse is going to open the doors, and you can investigate, talk to everyone. Victims, defendants, prosecutors, defense lawyers, everyone. And report your findings publicly. And guess what? We will give you as prosecutors access to the multi-county grand jury unit, which is already convened, by the way, more than likely not going to have people on it tied to Payne County. And then somehow we need a judge who's not running for re-election, who is an old, retired, crotchety old judge who's just there to preside over it, who doesn't care about re-election. Do you see what I'm saying here? Everybody's neutral. There's no local jurors. There's no local judges. There's no local prosecutors. They're from out of state. They ain't got a dog in the fight. This is what my proposal is, because how can anybody claim jury taint? if you do it this way? How can anybody say the investigation is tainted or it's messed up or it went wrong? We can do this. This can happen. It has to happen if we're ever going to regain faith in the system. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about that's very, very important, and I was depressed about this issue initially. I was really depressed. Like I was sick to my stomach about this, what I'm about to tell you. But then something really cool happened. Juvenile cases are confidential. I can't talk to you about them. I'm not allowed to. Kids are protected. Well, how do you be transparent when you're not allowed to talk about juvenile cases? You can't, right? Until I thought of something. I went to the statute and I thought, who are the people who can see the juvenile cases? The deprived cases, you know, when kids have been taken out of the home or they've been placed, you know, with whoever, whether it be a foster family, remember the family? Those kinds of instances, who can look at those files legally? And I looked at the statute and I found what is now my new favorite group of people now, our legislators. In our county, our legislators who represent all of you have the authority with the signature of the Speaker of the House or the President Pro Tem to come in and look at these files. And I got super excited. And I immediately started calling our legislators, and they're all on board. They're willing to come in and look at my files. And they're all in numerical order. All the files, all the pictures, all the reports, all everything, and they can look at it and they can report back to you. They can't tell you what's in the files, but they can tell you, hey, Jeremiah's doing it right. He's doing a good job. Before you get mad, he's doing it the way it's supposed to be done. And here, if I'm not, they can tell me. See the workaround? Again, this is transparency, and transparency builds trust. Okay, I really, really wanted this slide to work because I wanted to show you a picture of the Gregory County Undersheriff. And I'm about to blow this up. I know people will be like, wow, and I don't care. I'm really, really mad about what happened. I have a victim of crime here who called me when I just took office. And I found out that his stolen goods from 4 years ago were found down in Gregory County. One of them is a four-wheeler. The VIN number traces back to a forfeiture by the Gregory County Sheriff's Office. And the Gregory County Sheriff's Office currently has his property down there. But they've got a forfeiture order, civil asset forfeiture, and they took it and they now have the four-wheeler. But the four-wheeler was stolen up here in Payne County. The VIN numbers match, and they admit they have it. And the undersheriff of Gregory County says, we're keeping it. We have a forfeiture order. We have a civil asset forfeiture order. I will not tell you the forgiveness I had to ask God after all the language I used when I found out that was going on. So people are like, I know there's people who are watching this Facebook Live who are my mentors, and they're like, oh, Jeremiah, oh, I could not care less. Everybody in this room should be torqued off beyond belief. This is why people hate their government. This is exactly why people hate their government. A guy who's supposed to be wearing a badge won't give back something that was stole from a victim of crime? Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you? You know what? Thank God I am here. I will tell you, I want to pay compliments to my sheriffs. I got two sheriffs, Logan and Payne County, because I've got both counties. I've got Damon Devereaux and I've got Joe Harper up here. And both of those guys would get their pickup truck loaded up on the back and drive it to them. Here's the excuse of Gregory County Sheriff's Office. They say, well, we bought new tires for it. We're going to keep it. Okay, all right. Well, the victim said, I'll pay for the tires. Oh, we're still going to keep it. I kid you not. That's what was said. So anybody that wants to do a little muckraking, anybody who wants to be the self-appointed independent journalist, have at it. I don't care because I'm that mad about it. And you know, my sheriff's office has been working for months to try to get it back. I love every one of their efforts. It just makes me so proud of the Payne County Sheriff's Office because they're trying to do the right thing. And they can't because of garbage like that. My job, I really wish I had a slideshow.
One more time. Try there. One more time.
I did this for nothing. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to put this together. It did, nice, sweetheart. I did. Okay. My job as a minister of justice, guys, this is important. As a minister of justice, it's not about win or lose. It's about justice. It doesn't matter whether I win a trial or not. What matters is that justice is served. If I ever were to accidentally file a charge against the wrong person, and I'm going to admit to you today, I did it one time as a prosecutor, I didn't know. And when I found out it was his twin, I felt horrible. Well, his older brother, but they look like twins. You talk about the kid had sit in jail for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't sleep at night. I screwed that up. Well, it was hard to tell. It really was. But it wears on your soul. So it's not about winning or losing. It's about what justice is. That's what I do as a minister of justice. At the same time, people should know that if you commit a violent crime in my jurisdiction, I will put you in prison for as many years as I can put you there, comma, so help me God. So if you want to come to my jurisdiction, I'm not afraid to go to trial. I have a really bad attitude and I really want to let it out in court. So please come to my jurisdiction and commit a violent crime. Because you don't understand, a trial is like mother's milk to me. I love a jury trial. Alicia's been in the court. She's watched me before. She knows I enjoy that. Here's the other thing, political prosecutions. I will never do a political prosecution. I don't care whether you supported me. I don't care whether you go online and badmouth me. You can walk up to me in the street and flip me off 2 inches from my face and I'll say, have a nice day. Because I'm not going to file charges against somebody who didn't support me. Because is that justice? No, it's just not justice. It's wrong. I vehemently oppose the idea of anybody ever doing that as a prosecutor. Rehabilitative justice versus retributive justice. They're not mutually exclusive. You can have both. When I talk about rehabilitative, to rehabilitate somebody, and there's retributive. You commit a violent crime, I put you in prison for as long as I can. Child crime, life without parole is what I'm going to go for. But there's people who have addiction problems. It's a real thing. I bet everybody in here has a family member or friend who has suffered from addiction. It's a bad thing. And the answer is not always prison. Sometimes you got to try to rehabilitate. Sometimes it doesn't work. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You got to try. Now, if somebody remains addicted because they don't want to get off of it and they want to continue to hurt other people by stealing their stuff, then I have no choice but to protect the public and put them in the penitentiary, but I'm going to try for the goodness of society and for their own goodness. I want to talk really quickly about a system works best when everybody does their job and does it well, and that includes you. That means you hold your public officials accountable. You can come up and ask me the hard questions. I might have an answer. I will try to find it. I'm not going to try to elude it. But you come and ask me a question, you play a role in that. Defense attorneys play a role in that. I had people walk to me and be like, how can you be a defense attorney and defend a pervert or a scumbucket? And I'm like, I get that, but they're actually there to ensure their rights are protected, their sacred constitutional rights. So they play an important role. It's not about getting their client off. It's about making sure the judge does their job and does it well. The prosecutor's not doing something underhanded. They hold me accountable and I hold them accountable. And the system works best when everybody does their job and does it well. And that you guys come and serve as jurors and you listen and you deliberate and you come in with an open mind objectively, you are serving an important role in that process. It's not perfect. Nothing that's ever been devised by man is perfect. But we can get it as close as we can. One of the most important and overwhelming jobs that I have is the work product of several dozens of employees that work under me. That is an overwhelming task. I can't imagine the President of the United States having to deal with all of that. Whoever that president may be in history, they've all had to deal with that. And just at my small level, it's overwhelming. One of the things I can tell you is you're not going to be happy with every decision I make, but here's what you will know. You'll know why I made it. And you might not like it, but at least my hope is you'll respect the fact that I have the guts to come tell you, here's why I did it, and lay it out logically, at least in my mind, the way it happened. So you might not agree with it, but my hope is at the end of the day, you will trust me. I don't get that automatically by virtue of having a title. I get it by earning it from you. And that's my goal, is to earn your trust. Plea bargains. Let's talk about plea bargains. Why do they ever exist? Well, sometimes they exist because a prosecutor doesn't want to do their job. That happens occasionally. Sometimes it happens because the prosecutor can be lazy. That does happen occasionally. But it begs the question, is a plea bargain, arrest both of them. Where was I? What was I thinking? Oh, yes. Plea bargains, yes. Are they bad? Here's the answer to that. It depends on the bargain. Am I negotiating life without parole on a violent murderer? That's probably okay because the public's safe with them behind bars for the rest of their lives till they die. But what matters the most is victims' rights. What matters most is what the victim wants. Statutorily, I am not allowed to force a victim on the stand, and rightfully so. You've already been traumatized enough. So no, I can't force them on the stand. So they come to me and they're like, I don't want to do this. Will you please negotiate a bargain with the defense counsel? I have to listen to what they say because Marcy's law directs me to. And that's important. Their voice, the victim's voice, is number one, hands down. So, bottom line, victims matter. Consultation with the victims. We are not going to plead it out, ever, without consultation with the victims, period. That's how that works. Once again, if they want to go to trial, I told you what I said about going to trial. Kind of my thing. Okay, rehabilitative justice and crime prevention initiatives. We've got mental health court, which we need in our community. And I am tickled pink that our incoming district judge is in support of that, and has been for a long time. We need a veterans court, and this is near and dear to my heart because I am a veteran. And I serve with people who came back from Afghanistan who have a lot of stress disorders. And whoever tells you that's not a real thing has no idea what they're talking about. Inpatient treatment programs. One of the things we ran into whenever I was doing drug rehabilitation as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney. I know I did defense work, but I did do defense work. I'm not ashamed of that at all. Because again, my job was to protect their constitutional rights. But one of the things we ran into is when someone needed treatment, there were 0 inpatient beds available. Trish, the Department of Mental Health is screwing things up and we don't have enough money. I'm not saying, I am a conservative, but at the same time, I just need just a little bit. I just need just a little bit to be able to, actually, that little bit will go a long ways when it comes to these people who really want rehabilitated. It would be cheaper to spend money on that dollar for dollar. It would be cheaper than to house them for the next 20 years in the penitentiary. It just will be. If they're willing to go to inpatient and get clean and it's cheaper, doesn't it make conservative economic sense to do that? That's a whole other thing. DPAs, deferred prosecution agreements. I believe in these. Anybody heard of deferred prosecution agreement? It's an agreement with the DA's office when you're young and dumb. Everybody has seen the latest episode, The Young and the Stupid. And so you see that a lot on campus, young and stupid. Because I believe, what is it? Your brain isn't really fully developed till you're 25, and even then it's questionable. So the DPAs, what?
Just the myth.
Fair enough.
There's science there.
So DPAs are there. It's like somebody goes and they get like a public intox or minor possession of a can of beer. Do I really want to charge them and have it ruin them going to graduate school? Do I really want to charge them and ruin them getting a licensure for engineering or whatever it may be, CPA, whatever? No. So we have that as an outlet to be able, yeah, you sign this agreement, you do some probation time. If you do good, we won't file charges against you. And it works because it keeps their record clean from the get-go. And they're not spending a bunch of money on civil attorneys to expunge their records. So people criticize me for keeping the DPA program, and I could not care less. So I want to do the Stupid is Bad program. Stupid is Bad is I want to go around with law enforcement. We're going to do this. I just got a lot of stuff I've got to do before I get to this, but we're going to do Stupid is Bad. And Stupid is Bad is I'm going to team up my office with law enforcement. We're going to go around to the middle schools, the junior high, the high schools, community college, and universities and let them know there's stuff out there that's going to kill you. It's called fentanyl. When you go and smoke something from somebody you don't know, it could be laced with fentanyl and you could die, and it's happening all over our country. And I tell this to some young kids I know, including my own family, they're like, really? Mm-hmm, it's happening. As a chief law enforcement officer, it's not just about law enforcement, it's about trying to prevent crime. Sextortion is gotten out of hand. These kids don't understand that whenever you send naked pictures to each other, it's out there forever. You're not getting it back. I need them to know the dangers. There are kids who are committing suicide because they've been sextorted because of what their naked pictures being posted on the internet. I have a duty to go out there and let the community know this is what's going. Kids, I mean, some of them are still going to do it. I get it, but I've got to try. I've got to try. I want the high school DA Academy. I want to come in, and I've got to go into the whole program. We bring in high school kids. We show them how it works with the DA. We do mock trials and stuff like that. I'm really excited about this. It's going to take me a year or two to get to it because I got so much other stuff I got to do. But this is one thing I'm excited about because I was a high school teacher. What are we doing here? How does this help promote transparency? How does it help promote accountability doing these programs? Because those kids remember when they go through the DA's office and they do all the stuff in the courtroom and the courthouse, they know what questions to ask their elected officials. They know how to hold the DA accountable because they're like, hang on a second. I don't think that's the way that's supposed to be done. I have a question. It's important that we mentor young kids because that's our next generation that's going to come over and take my spot. This is really important to me. For rehabilitative justice, we have to remove DA and court costs for indigent people. Here's the problem. I have seen it happen over and over again. You have somebody who they get messed up, they finally get their life in order, and they've got thousands of fees to the court system and the DA's office. By the way, this is the biggest lie. They think that when we collect the DA fees, we keep it in our pockets. The legislature we fixed it. No, it just goes to the state now. We are collections agents for the state. And it angers me because these people are indigent. They really want to get their lives together. They don't have the money. Here's a story I will tell you that happened when I was a ride-along with Stillwater Police Department. We pull over a lady who had her kids in the back, okay? And it was a nighttime, and this person had an outstanding warrant. And it was an outstanding warrant for court costs and DA fees. She gets arrested. The kids have to go to grandma's house. She sits in jail till we can get to the judge because I'm an assistant prosecutor. I have no power to pull a warrant. I do everything I can to try to make phone calls. She sits in jail and loses her job. That's stupid. So the legislature has to get rid of DA fees and court costs or we're going to forever spin our wheels and we're never going to promote the cause of rehabilitative justice. This kind of debtor's prison is exactly what our founding fathers abhorred, and it needs to stop. Here's another thing that people need to know whenever they ask me, why did you not charge this case, or why did you not charge this case? I get this from law enforcement occasionally. We've got good law enforcement in this county. I really do. I've got really good ones. But every once somebody asks us, well, why did you not charge the public intox that I arrested out over on the strip? And I said, well, the guy had the keys to his vehicle in his pocket. He was at least sober enough. I mean, he's pretty drunk. You know, he's stumbling over himself, walking down the street, puking. They arrest him for public intox, but he left his car behind. He did the right thing. He didn't get behind the wheel. So he's technically guilty of public intox, right? I could charge it ethically, right? But just because I can charge it doesn't mean I should charge it. If that makes any sense at all. So when you see that, well, why didn't you charge this count? Or why didn't you do it this way? I'm going to have an explanation for you. And if it's something my ADAs did and we don't have an explanation for you, I'm going to come and tell you, hey, we screwed up. I'll have the guts to come and tell you that. It's hard to do, but I owe it to the public. Quick note on the Pardon and Parole Board. Now, some people, raise your hand if you were here for my Pardon and Parole Board presentation. Just a few of you were. Okay, I mean this with all due respect because I'm not going to ever badmouth any other elected official. Well, if they commit a crime, I will. But I'm not wanting to play politics right now, but I was really, really disappointed at what our Attorney General said while standing up here the other day. Because I asked him sitting over in that chair, I said, would you support a reform to the Pardon and Parole Board where you don't have five pointy-headed politician bureaucrats making determinations about whether or not someone should get out of prison or not? Because politics in our justice system don't work well. I think we've seen it here, haven't we? So here's if you guys recall what I said. We do a constitutional amendment to get rid of those five pointy-headed bureaucrats and we use a jury system. Normal people, just out and about. A farmer from here, a teacher from there, a retired person from there. They ain't got a dog in the fight. They're not trying to get appointed to the next political office. We have them go down to Oklahoma City. They sit on the board, rotate out, and they listen to the DOC. They listen to the victims. They listen to the prosecutor, not relitigating the case, but just finding out whether they should be let out and let them vote and decide. Not pointy-headed politician bureaucrats who sometimes aren't trustworthy. Mr. Drummond had stated that he would support that because ultimately at the end of the day, it's a grueling process and you have to be there from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. Who here has served on a jury? Were you there from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock? Yeah, that rings hollow. That's, with all due respect, that rings hollow. I don't buy that. Once again, I have the right to remain silent, don't have the ability, so I will go down to the legislature. I will go down to the legislature and I will tell them what I think. Trish, I may get kicked out down there. Maybe, I don't know. But boy, wouldn't that be on the news? Good God. Does that make sense what I'm saying about the Pardon and Parole Board? Did I explain what, because I don't want to go through the whole presentation that I gave earlier all over again. But that system needs to come to an end if we want to have justice in our communities and we want to be safe and not see violent offenders get out. Which, by the way, with that Pardon and Parole Board system, with those 5 pointy-headed bureaucrats doing political backdoor deals, we have seen violent offenders get out and kill other people. I have a feeling we're less likely if we have normal everyday people deciding who we want to let out into our communities. I'm getting close to the end. I know everybody's ready to get out of here, but I want to let you know where my heart's at. I don't want to get preachy with you. That's not my goal. I feel like you need to know, and you'll see this as time goes on, what I really feel. I mean, I'm kind of verbose, so you're going to find out easily how I feel, but I want you to know I feel like we can do this. We can bring an end to our long nightmare. We can. We can bring trust back. And the cause of transparency, accountability, and equal justice under the law will never stop. Personally, you should know that recently and this is my faith, if you don't have the same faith, it's okay. I rededicated my life to Christ because of my wife. And so it's changed my perspective on a lot of things. I've come a long ways because there was a time when I had a lot of bitterness in my heart, particularly for the people I was putting in the penitentiary. And while I will still go after people and do life without parole and all that good stuff, I'm not afraid to do that. It's not out of hatred and bitterness, it's out of justice now. It's about right and wrong, equal justice, not bitterness and hatred. Because now those people I prosecuted, I've done a 180, and I want to see them in heaven with me. I want them to know the Christ that I know. And that was a huge transformational thing, and I credit my wife for that. One of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life is meeting with victims of crime. Meeting with the Butler victims and their families was heart-wrenching. They've been through a lot. I also had to meet recently with a father whose child was murdered in our community. I'm not going to say who it is, but this father said something to me that was profound. He told me he didn't hate the people who killed his child. He prayed for them, and I knew he was earnest in that. Where does strength like that come from? How could somebody so burdened with sorrow feel such forgiveness? Some of you know this guy. The guy's a hero. That's about all I can say at this point. You know, I'm reminded of John. I'm not trying to get preachy, but I want you to know my heart again, where it says John 15:12, it says, "This is my commandment." God said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." I think of when Christ on the cross looked over to the thug that was on the other cross and said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Again, I credit a lot of this to my wife. Finally, something that you should know that I feel like is tearing our country apart besides social media is that politically in our country, we have to get back into this country where we can vehemently disagree with each other and not hate each other's guts. I'm reminded of, I'm a conservative Republican. I am. I'm proud of that. One of my heroes was Ronald Reagan. But I remember Ronald Reagan's friendship with Tip O'Neill. Does everybody remember that? Speaker Tip O'Neill, liberal Massachusetts guy, conservative California Republican, good close friends with mutual respect and decency. You remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Justice Antonin Scalia, total ends of the judicial spectrum, jurisprudence spectrum. Couldn't be on the further ends and vehemently argued with each other. They vacationed together with their spouses and they were the best of friends. We've got to get back in this country where, I'll have an engaging discussion with you. We might argue, I might shout, I might get real theatrical with you. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to hate you. And we've got to get back to that in our country because it's tearing our communities apart and it's tearing our countries apart. Finally, we are a good community. And I hate the national attention that our community has received because we're a good community who love each other and care about each other and care about justice. I'm telling you, the victims who I met with on Monday, I'm just amazed at their faith. That's the kind of good people that we have in our community, and I want the world to know that. We saw it with the wildfires. We saw it when heroes emerged to work without sleep for 48, 72 hours straight. Why do they do that? Because that's what heroes do. That's the goodness of our community, and I want that rehabilitated. I want the people to know it's not backwards here. We're fixing the problem, and we're moving on because we are Stillwater strong. We are Payne County strong. We are District 9 strong. That is why I have to rebuild faith and trust. And I will do everything in my power to earn your faith and trust. I want you to be able to drive by the courthouse after the next so many years and be like, I'm not worried about it anymore. I know I can trust him. That's my goal. That's how I'm going to measure success in this office. And I need your help doing so. We can do this. We can bring it into our long national nightmare. Now, please know I just took office 6 days ago. People are already sending me nasty message why I haven't done this, that, or the other. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. So please remain patient with me. I've got a lot of work to do, and I ask for your help. If you're a praying person, I ask that you keep me and everybody in the system in your prayers because God is powerful, and he can change it, and we're going to. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen.